Hey guys, welcome to the Grease Monkey channel. I'm West, and I'm going to show you a little experiment I was doing last night. So I was testing out the different textures you can use for the stroke in the grease pencil object, and I started having a lot of fun. So what I did was I made a material, put it on stroke, put it on stroke. I put the style onto texture, and then I made some different textures. So what I have here is a few gradients that I got right out of Photoshop, and this pattern, which is one of the patterns that comes with Photoshop. So I just exported those out as PNGs. The file size is 1024 pixels by 1024 pixels, 1K I guess. And that's it. So then I chose, let's experiment with the pattern first. I think it's the most fun. So here we are. And with these patterns, you can use the effects of the different tools that you have here. So first we'll do it with the ink pen. So I'll do it with the ink pen. The radius, I have it with pressure, and the radius is at 500, which is at max, right? And if you hit F, you see that max is this 500. But when I draw, it doesn't. It's not that big. So I'll show you how big it is. So you see. This is full pressure right here, and I wonder why it would show me this size. But I think this looks really neat. And to mess with some of the settings, let me just scribble on here, do some drawing here. And if you just change the UV factor, it starts off at 100. You can see that the pattern is just repeated a lot, and this could be used for, I would say, like a clothing material. Even though it's trees, it would be nice to do some like funky, surreal textures. So that's a lot of fun. But I have it like 700, right? Because I think what's neat about it, and let me erase this. I think what's neat about it is that I can draw and then I can edit the strokes later. So let's do this. Let's do something with the pattern like this. Whoa, let's get that away. There. And you're like, okay, that's cool. So let's go into edit mode, and I select them all with A, and I go to radius, changes the size there, and then I make them bigger. And cool. Sure. That looks pretty good. Just looks like a repeated pattern. But I think where the magic really comes into this, ooh, real trippy here. Where the magic really comes into play for me is adding lights. So if I just add some lights, already added them here, you see that I can get like these nice little gradients. Also, the grease pencil object looks trippy. Look at that. I'm not sure what's happening here. What I think it is that the stroke is pointing at the viewer at all times, so it's like moving with me and then overlapping. But I think the lights really add like an extra layer of depth for me. So if I just choose these different lights, blast the lights even more, or maybe even change the color, I can have some fun with these colors. And you're like, right, that's cool, whatever. So let's try it with a different type of stroke. So let's go right here, draw, and a fun one is Airbrush. So Airbrush, we're at 500, same texture, and you see that the edges are now taking the soft edge like the Airbrush does. And I think this is a lot of fun too. Let's just do the lines. Whatever. Make them bigger. Maybe even sculpt them around. I feel like you can start really art directing like this texture, and I don't know, make it work for you. I just love this trippy looking stuff here. So the airbrush really adds to it. You get like these artifacts here, and I think to get rid of that, I do self overlap. Yeah, and that gets rid of those like alpha overlaps. Not that it looks great all around. But I think it's looking like a lot of fun. This is like a trippy. Gets all real crunchy there. It looks like a trippy fractal or something like that. And I think with the right texture and the right know-how, I'm still experimenting, you can really take advantage of these textures. For one, another texture I like is the gradient texture. Let's just change the gradient. So I went to edit mode, I went to gradient, and I'm gonna assign all the points to this material. Let's see if that works. Boom. That looks like a jumbled mess. Almost like cotton candy. Cotton candy is the common theme in my work. Let's go to edit mode and make them smaller. And these look like a lot of fun. Let's take away the lights right now. So right now we have these gradients. They have the soft edge. So let's create it with the Inkbrush. And that gradient looks like a lot of fun. I think you can even do some neon, right? Like some neon lights. Put a glow effect on here. And you got yourself a neon light. Add in the lights. They're a little bright, so let's fix that. Let's make them much more manageable. Let's make these like what, 5,000? 5,000. Is there a difference? Yeah, it is. And you can kind of like just set the colors. I think the texture, like, it's, if you start off maybe with black and white instead of having a color, it would be easier to art direct. But these just look like real fun lines. Maybe make like a trippy octopus. Let's erase that. Let's see. Maybe. Also, trying this little option up here makes it so the stroke appears behind it. So draw stroke on back. So if I were to draw it like this, these strokes just draw on top of each other. Maybe we can make like a cool like line pattern with the gradients. But if you have this option on, it'll draw behind the line. You'll see that it'll switch to the back there, and you can start making those lines. Another thing you can do, there's a one I have here. It's basically a circle gradient, and what I realized with that is that you could probably make like a chain or a rope or something along the lines of that. So when you draw, see, it draws the chain, makes things a lot easier. And I can see a lot of shortcuts being used, and I just have seen no video. I mean, there's probably videos out there talking about the textures, but I like to see more of this. I want to see more textures in the Blender grease pens. I think it's a lot of fun. Also, I think the Blender organization or foundation released a bunch of grease pencil assets, and I'll put that link in the description below. It has different like brushes, and it has different project files that you can look through. I think it's very, very useful. Definitely check that out. Well, I hope you enjoyed this experiment, and I'll have the file for this and also in the description, so if you want to play around with the textures I made. But I really encourage you to make your own and send me the images. I'd love to see what type of things you make with a textured brush in grease pencil. A lot of potential. Alright, thanks for sticking around, and I will see you next time.